Hey guys, and welcome to the example exercise that I'm going to be doing. So this video is just going to cover the latest that we've learned in regards to web uh, server, the ASP.NET server controls in the previous lesson. Um, so I'm just going to build up my project um, based on the things that we've already learned. So let me go ahead and open it up. Now keep in mind that this is specific to my project, so you're free to take ideas from this and utilize it to determine how to do things um, and how controls should work. Now I'm not going to go over every single control because my project may not need it. Um, but if yours does, feel free to use the reference back to the PowerPoint presentation or the lesson about the web controls. so um, so I'm gonna just go ahead and get started. I'm gonna talk through some of the things that I do, kind of why I do them. I might be quiet at sometimes. But this is mainly just that you guys can watch how I think and how I code. Just you know, um, just being in my natural state, I guess. So, all right. So first thing I'm gonna want to do here is place these text boxes. So I'm on the contact us page. Also, sorry about my clearing of the throat. I just ate something and it's tickling my throat. So let's replace this and replace this entire thing. Oh. So I'll give this a mode of phone. Yeah. And then this right here is also a text box. But rows 10 mode equals multi-line. Okay, so that is that for this. Oh, wait. Okay, so that is contact us form. Let's do the login page now. I wonder for this example if I should do all the pages or just hit the main ones to show you guys a nice variety. Keep the video short. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Actually, did the contact us have an email? Yep. So this is ID pass type. Password. Let's get this ID of submit and login, CSS class. And why not? Let's just do the sign up page too while we're at it. I keep forgetting this. Or okay, cool. Sign up. Same thing. Control. This ID is last. This ID is email. Type email. Email. This ID is pass. So let's change this to pass. Mode. Password. And same thing here. This ID, we called it VPass, so let's make it the same. And the button. I mean, realistically, actually, this should be called like button sign up. And then sign up. Save and did not forget this time. First client ID. Copy all of this. 4, and then last, we need that ID of this text box. Email. Pass. VPass. Just because it's going to annoy me, let's call this button and the login. Let's call it button login. And the contact button. Send info. I don't know. Okay. So, now let's make sure that our startup page is the login page. And I guess let me make sure that I'm on the develop branch. Yep. Okay. All right, yeah, that's good. Okay. So now let's make it so that the user, let's do some fake code here. We will implement this code when we start getting into the databases. We'll start kind of implementing all of our database access layer stuff. But for now, we can create like the code base outside of that. So let's go back to the sign up page. Let's create a new event. So now how should I do this? So let me create a user object. Let's create a folder called models where we'll store all of our models. I'm going to create a class, call it user. User's going to be, let's make it serializable. Let's do a public long ID get set. Oh, why did that work? Okay. Public string first get set. Public string last get set. Public string email get set. Public let's do string a phone. Yeah. And the reason I'm making it string, the phone number string instead of like an integer or a long, is because phone numbers, like I don't know, like depending on the country or whatever, like it might have like a zero. It could start with a zero, and then it might also start with a plus. So you don't know. So it's always, I think phone should be a string. And then so yeah, for the login they'll need email and they'll need a password. So public string password, and this will just be unencrypted. And if you were creating like a real management system or a real system with the login page and stuff, and you were storing passwords, you really should research hashing algorithms. A personal hashing algorithm that I use is called Argon. Argon 2. It's spelled like this, Argon 2. Because it won some sort of competition and like hashing competition. So that's why I use it. But there's a lot of other password encryption algorithms on there. So there's difference between password encryptions and text encryptions. So just make sure that you utilize a password encryption to encrypt passwords. Anyway, that was a brief thing there. So yeah, so is this all that's needed for the sign up page though? Blah 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 blah. Yeah, we don't even have a phone number in here. Oh, right. Phone number was in the contact us. Okay, well, whatever. We'll keep phone here. Doesn't matter. Um, and like you can have like you can create an address, class. And you can give the user public address. There we go. I don't think I'll actually use this, but we'll see. Yeah, maybe we will actually. Public. And zip codes might also start with a 0, so I don't want to mess with any unknowns, so I'm just going to make it a string because of that. Okay. So this is an address. This is a user who has the address. So here we'll take, let's create the object. So so we'll just hover over this, the potential fixes, and you can select using, and then this is the path of the namespace. Or you can, something should pop up here. You can just click this, or you can hit, on a Windows, you can hit Alt Enter, and it pops this up. So anyway, you can do that, or you can, so you can import that using statement, or you can just utilize this like that. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and use a using statement, and it automatically brings it up here. So if I hit Control Space, I get this list right here, so I can easily see like what I need to fill out. So let's go back to our text box. And then this will refer to the text box in the UI. Email. Okay, so before we create the user, though, we need to do some validation checks. So first things first, let's make sure that nothing is blank. So let's create a little helper class here. So where I don't know, let's just call it random for now. There's a better name for where I'm gonna put this, but for that's gonna come in another lesson, so I'm just gonna call it random, and we're just gonna throw some random stuff in here. So let's just call this helper. This helper class is gonna check for let's create a function in it, public. Actually, we might, let's not mess with this helper class yet, because this is very, very specific to the sign up page. So, okay, so if first dot text, if string dot is null or white space first dot text, and so actually, so if it's null or white space, return. If actually, we're going to add more stuff under here. Let's actually create a list of errors. It's actually a lot better. We'll leave that as returns for now. I feel like one of these checks is redundant, so that doesn't matter. So here I'm saying if the passwords aren't the same. Oh. Oops. All right. So here, so if this is the case, so we'll want to add an error. So if the first name text box is blank, let's make it say you must provide a first. So we'll add that to our error list. You must provide a last name. You must provide an email. You must provide a password. You must provide a valid. Yeah, let's just remove this, because this is going to make sure that both of the passwords aren't blank, since this is doing a blank check, and then this is making sure that that they're both the same. And then we can do something like, I don't know, make it like more than, the password has to be more than 8 characters long. So if we wanted to do that, we could do, I'm not going to do that, but if you did want to do that, you could do something like pass that text is greater than, you don't have to do trim. It doesn't matter. It depends on how you want to handle your passwords. So if text length is greater than or equals to 8, or actually is less than 8, then, you know, errors that add your password must be of 8 characters long or more. You know, something like this. But I'm not going to do that. You can for yours if you want. Anyway, so if all of this passes, so if errors that count is greater than 0, return. Otherwise, it'll go in here, it'll create the user, and then we'll just add a comment here. So everything passed correctly. So let's create the user object. And here we'll do to do add functionality to hit the database. Add functionality to hit the database to create this user. So here we can either redirect, or you can keep them on the sign up page. It doesn't matter. I would do something here though. Otherwise, they'll just stay on the page and they won't know what to do. So here you could do, yeah, so here I would actually redirect. So response redirect. So we will learn more about this in a few lessons, but what this does is it just redirects the user, the browser, and it to another web page. So it just takes them over to whatever page you specify here. So redirect the user to dashboard.aspx. Um, Yeah, sure. Let's see how that works for now. Let's delete this. All right, so we got our sign up page all covered. Just kidding. Let's go here. Let's create div here that says, so by the way, a panel. So panel, the same thing as a div. So actually, then let's just use a panel here. Errors. And then here, let's do a label. This is invisible by default. So now when we get an error, we want to get out of this and not create the user. So this return is fine, but we want to show the error panel. Let's error panel. And label errors dot text equals string dot join separated by BR tags. Yeah. Period to all of these. Separated by BR tags and errors. And then return out of here. Let's do errors panel. Just every time this button is clicked, just make it invisible, and then if needed, make it visible over here. Okay, so let's just see how that works. Yep. So I didn't provide anything, and you guys can see that it gave me all this junk. And so you can see that once it created my account, you can make it say like account creation successful, or just have it redirect you to the main page of the employee side, I guess, the private side. So yeah, so let's just code the login screen now. Real quick. We'll mock it with some data. So click. So same thing here. So let's go to our sign up page. Paste that there. Okay, so we'll want to import this user class in. And what you'll want to do here is Um, so you'll want to mock the data. So we'll want to add a to do here, um, because this is database stuff, and we'll be doing database stuff in a later lesson. But we'll want to, so here we'll want to save some space for to do grab the, so select, try to select the email address and password from the database. And return the user's row with information. Have our, now you don't have to, you know, do these comments in yours, but just know that you'll want to do, you want to at least add a to do in there just so that you know what you're going to be doing. Because first things first, you gotta, once a user tries to log in, you want to hit up the database and be like, hey, is this username and password that this person just put in, does it match anything in our database? If it does, you want to pull that user's row, that information from the database. You want to pull that over to our code. And if it doesn't, you won't be returning any rows back. And so, but all that we will learn in a few lessons. But you'll just want to add like a little section here to remind you that you need to do that. And so you have to search the database for that user first before you start parsing that into a, or mapping that into an object and messing with it, and making validations and stuff. So so that's kind of what I'm doing here, just adding a to do. So try to select the email and password from the database and return the user's row with information. Have our data layer do the data access, and then do the parsing, do the mapping. Yeah. Actually, the data is gonna, it's gonna be mapped in the data layer, and then we'll do the validations in the repository, and then here we'll just utilize that. So okay, have our data layer do the data access. Let me just add a note. We want to do this. We want to access the data layer through the repository class. Yeah. But for this example, we'll do it like this. And then we will change it in the future in some later lessons. So if we get the data, the user back, what we will want to do, so if we do get a row back, if it matches, so we will did, or matched in database. Let's do true. So here we'll want to do if matched in database. Then let's create our user. And then our user will just be, first custodian. This data is going to come from the database. I'm just faking this data. Then create this user. Yep, create the user and create the user object, not actually create the user. Else, if it didn't match the database, then let's do errors.add user does not exist. Please make sure you entered the correct username, the correct email password. Okay. And then here we'll want to do this again. This. And then matched in database, let's just say, let's do false. And then let's just add, if an if condition. So for fake data, let's say that in our database we have the email of if email.text equals rgpista1 at neiu.edu and pass.text equals test, and then matched in database equals true. So it will always be false unless this email and this password is entered into the text boxes. In that case, then matched in database will be true. So this is essentially just mocking that database call that we'll be making later on. So yeah, so this will be replaced. This isn't going to be hard coded forever. And then we'll just do this. And then if the password is correct, it'll take us to the dashboard. So let's go ahead and try that out. So if we do this, sure, why not? And then this, user does not exist. Please make sure you enter the correct email and password. And so now let's do at neiu.edu and then test. You can see here that it took us here. One thing, let's make this not capital sensitive. So let's do to upper, to lower. Let's actually change this to lower, since this is all lowercase anyway. Password, let's actually not make that too low. And then you would pass this user object over to the dashboard page, but that is also in another lesson, so we'll just leave this like this. But what we're doing here is we're just prepping it. Yeah, so we're just prepping it for now. So the database layer would create search. We'll map the object, and then the repository will do any logic checks or whatever, and then return a user if the user is valid. Okay. Yep. And that would be matched in database. Okay. Just thinking out loud. All right. So save our entire project so far. So great. We have this. Now, I'm not going to go and mess with the contact us page, but you know, same stuff. Just to save on time, I'm not going to do it. But you guys should for your projects. So let's just code the dashboard. Okay. So order count. So all these things we can get, we can create functions for them. So let's go ahead and on our dashboard, let's just create some functions here. So public, actually, let's make it private. Private, I think it can be int. It doesn't have to be long. Private int, get order count. Let's mock some data here real quick. Let's create a new object here. Call it order. Each order will have an ID. I guess let me see what my project is about. Okay, so let's just okay, so we have create order. Here's my screenshot tool. Let me open up Word. Paste the screenshot in there. That just so I can reference it. Let's go back to the dashboard, take a screenshot of this just so I can reference it. Okay. So I got some screenshots here. So I'll just be referencing this as I code, just so I don't get lost. All right. So an order. So you can an order will have services. So let's create a. So again, this is specific just to my stuff. So your stuff will be different. Public long service will have an ID. It'll have a service name. Service name. Service price. Let's see. Okay, so that's a service. Let's go to order. An order will have a customer, so public user customer. Order will have a service date. order will have a list of services. And then the price will just be the sum of the services. So I think we can do this. Not total. This might not work. Services. All right, and if this doesn't work, then what you could do is something like public decimal order price, order total. I'm not gonna name it total again because I already have something with that. Order total, and then make that into a function, and then just do if services is not null. And you can use a link query here with lambda, with a lambda expression. You can Google that, how to do that if you want. Otherwise, the for loop thing for this would be something like this. So decimal total equals 0. And for each service and services, total will be the total plus the service price. So this will give us the sum. And then return total. So if this doesn't work, we'll just use this. So now we have both. Okay. Will order have anything else? No. 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 Okay. So let's go back to our dashboard here. Let's create some fake orders. What am I doing? List of order. Okay. Nope. So order. Oh my god. Order. You have to import it. So control or alt enter. Then yep, enter. So orders equals new. So new order. Let's do customer, new user. I'm not gonna fill in the address. Just gonna fill in the user ID. And like all this stuff is going to be retrieved from the database like automatically, so this is just for mocking purposes. Also, real quick, before we continue, let's go back to our system master page, expand that, go into the CS, the backend code, and then here let's do if. So Um, let's do if is user log in. If is user logged in equals false, then let's take them back to the login page. So if the user is not logged in, what we'll really do here in the future is we'll have a user object, you know, and if it's set to null, we'll do if user is null, then send them back to the login page, because if we don't have a user, then they didn't log in and they're doing something, they're just trying to access this page directly, the dashboard page directly without, you know, being logged in. But if they went through the login page, then their user in the future will have, you know, a user account in there associated. So but for now, let's just use a boolean instead of a user. So if it's false, then redirect. So here, I'll show you. Oh, right, we're in the middle of coding stuff. Yep. Okay. So since we have is user logged in equals false, when we get redirected there, or whenever, or if we go there manually, like if I just type dashboard, at this point it's going to be the same thing as me logging in. You see that I didn't go anywhere. I did go somewhere, but it happened so fast that you didn't see it. So here, I'll even go to dashboard, and it's not letting me in because technically I didn't log in according to my code. But once we have our database set up and running and everything is good, this will be dynamic and it won't be hard coded. So, but right now let's put it to is user logged in equals true. Save. Now you'll see that whenever we go to, you know, dashboard, since user logged in equals true, it lets us in. Let's go back to the login page. And then when we do this, you know, it's the same thing. It lets us in. So, yep. So let's continue on with what we were doing here, though. We will want it's it for customer. We don't need more information. We will want do we want a service date? Yeah, let's just keep it simple. At one day to right now, and then a list of services. Oh, yeah. Okay. Call this service mowing. We'll give it a price of my landscaper charges me $25. Is it complaining about? Oh. And then let's do new service. Let's do ID equals 2. Then the database, it will automatically increment, so we kind of just want to mock the database right now. Cleanup. Price $250. New service. ID 3. Name. Tree trimming. My landscaper's cheap and he charges me, let's say, $100. Okay. So we have our services here. So order services is a new list of services. Services, let's say, why isn't it showing it to me? Anyway. Here, ID is, let's add tree trim. Mowing. Dang, won't let me do that. Whoa. Well, at least we created our list of services. Alright, whatever. New list. I'm in a rush, so I can't really even. I don't want to even bother checking how to actually do that. That's. It said mowing and tree trimming. Okay, cool. And I think that's all we need for this. Let's create another order. Just copy and paste this now. New order, and let's create another order. So this is all going to be for the same customer, so I'm not going to change the customer. Only different thing that it's going to be is services. So this one, let's do mowing, just mowing. And this one, let's do just cleanup. So let's go back to our service here. Okay. Okay, cool. So now we're able to mock like database stuff. So get order count. So here let's do orders that count. Actually, this should be set order count. So whenever our page loads, let's do dashboard. Oh, right, shoot. So let's change this to a literal. We already have a pretty nice setup here. So lit order count. let's go to our login and then do let order count that text equals set order count. All right. Oh. Really? Yeah, that's what I thought. That was weird. Okay. All right. So now we have that. So if by the way, you can write this like this. I find it easier to read equals false because it's plain English, but you can also do this, which is, cleaner because it's less characters in your code, but you can make it as fancy as you want, but at the end of the day, if you're working with a team of other developers, you want your code to be as readable as possible. So like all these link queries that I'm trying to write are bad in not all cases, but some cases. In very complex cases, you wouldn't want to write any link queries because if someone else has to go in and debug your code, they might not have a good time. So something that might be able to take like a few minutes to debug can take a few hours if it's too complex. So just keep that in mind. So shoot. Page loads, do that. This should be a get because it's getting it. And this right here is setting it. So decimal get money collected. So what this will do is this will get the sum of any order that was completed. So let's actually make this one of these orders. Let's give it a negative date. So let's say it was serviced yesterday. So can do this in Link really easy, but I'll write this in a traditional for loop. So what do we want to do here? So for let's do decimal money collected equals 0. So for each order in orders, if order dot service date is less than datetime dot now, then money collected plus equals order dot services dot no order dot, I forgot we created total. Yep. Return money collected. money collected. So now this should return us 3 for the order count, and money collected should be 125. Yeah. Let's see. I should just have it start. Okay, yeah, so 3 and 125. And let's just make the dashboard the start page so I don't have to keep logging in. Okay, so the next thing was orders completed. Here, so get orders completed. I mean, I guess I can add a completed date to here, but I'm just gonna assume that if the service date is before is already passed, then the order has been completed, is the assumption I'm gonna make. So int orders completed for each order or int orders same code here, but we're just incrementing a counter. And this is not optimized. If you guys were to do this in an optimized way, you guys would traverse through a list once to get the data. You would only have to traverse the list once. And so what you could do is merge, this, keep track of both of the things here. So like put this up here. This function would be a double, type of function. We'd set a double type of, it would return two things, and you can make your own object here to return 2 things instead of a decimal. And then here you would just do, you would do brackets, and then you would put this in it, and then you would also do orders completed plus equals 1. Actually, plus. And then you would return that, that special object of yours that's going to return both this, and then you only traverse the list once instead of twice. But since this is a demo project, I don't really care much about optimization, but I do want you guys to understand that things do slow down your application, and in the real world, things like this do matter. I've seen a lot of unoptimized code, and it really, really slows down your application. So anyway, get orders completed. So now let's do lit. Oh my god. All right, let's just duplicate this one. Okay, so we have 1 order completed. We have 3 orders total. We've collected $125 and we've completed 1 order. So now let's fill out this table. I think it's a grid view. It's what I made it. Where the heck is it? Oh, it's a table. Okay, shoot. All right, I'm gonna make it into a repeater or a grid view. Let's make it into a grid view. Why not? Content. Okay, so the grid view would go here. Let's just make sure. Grid view. Okay, so let's give this the class of table. So the same thing as the one as a table below. I wanted to generate automatically. No. Auto-generate columns equals false. Allow pagination. So this we will it won't do any paging right now, but we can make it do it in the future once we get more data. I guess we could actually do it now. Page size, like we have 3 orders, so if I made this like a page, 2 orders per page, then you'll see it. But yeah, sure, actually let's do that just so you can see. Allow paging true, and was there one more thing that I think that was it for the paging. Columns. So ID, so header text. Let's do you know, ID. And data field will be ID. Then let's do a template field where we will display the customer's name. Item template. Item template. And let's just make this a label. Custom label, customer name. That doesn't matter. And then let's copy this and then add another one and name it label services. And then, oh, actually, let's go back to our order. Let's remove this because this works. Anyway, label services. So this will be a list of our services. Let's do price. Bound. Header text. Also, I forgot these. Header text. Customer. Services. Price. Let's do service date. And I guess let's just make sure this works before we go do more other crazy stuff. All right. So let's create a function here. Private bind. Let's rename this grid. Grid order info, order details. So bind order details grid data source equals orders. So in the future, this will be from the database, not from, our mock, but we need to provide it something. Private void. Okay, so let's see if that works. It's not going to load the customer name, which is fine, but I just want to see if it loads the service date. Oh, right. Okay, yeah. Don't forget to call it on the page load. Behind order details grid. All right, cool. All right. This doesn't look good. This doesn't look good. This is expected. Service date. Wait, never mind. I thought that this was service date. Okay, so service date looks good, but we want to just make it the date instead of date time. Price looks good. We want to add a dollar sign right here though. This looks fine, this looks fine, this looks fine, this looks fine. I don't know why it's not showing ID. And you can see here that paging works. So let's click 2. Paging index change. So page index changing. So on page index changing. Create that event function. Let's see what that does. I think we might have to switch the index ourselves. I thought that we would be able to. So ASP.NET Web Forms. Let's look at Stack Overflow. Grid view paging. Let's see what these people did here. So looks like we set the page index to the new page index from the event, and then they rebind the data. So let's do that. So let's go to our function, to our event that we just created here. And grid order details dot page index. So now we're essentially telling it, okay, make the page index. So right now I believe it's 0 on like the first page, and then when you click 2, so this event, this e dot new page index, is telling it. So what this is saying is, hey, flip the page. And then we have to bind the order details grid again to show that data on the second page. Yep. So there you go. Here's a 250. So I think we can go ahead and get rid we need to delete column, don't we? So you can do the delete column by several ways. I think I want to use command field though. Let's see. What are or I can use a button. Let's see. I think this is fine. Delete text. We'll make it X. And then here we'll want to add an event for on delete. On row deleting. Yeah, so I think that'll actually okay, yeah, so that's similar. So I think we just got to give it the class name now. What did we use for the class name here? Delete mark. I wonder if this will work. Yep. Okay, cool. All right, so that's fine. Now let's fix the service state. Service state and add the price, the dollar to the price. Okay, so we're gonna have to use custom templates because these are just bound fields, so we can't really, unless there's a text. Nope. Yeah, these are, it's just pulling the data directly from the object, so so we need it to be a little more dynamic than that. So we will do label order price. And then service state. Okay, and this, I don't know why this isn't pulling the ID, because it should be. All the orders here, pretty sure I gave them IDs. I did not. Okay, ID. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So there we go. Here's the IDs. And so now let's bring in all this information into it. And then we'll take care of this delete button. So on a row, I guess I didn't create okay. Let's create the event on row data bound. So fe dot row type equals, if it's a data row, then we want to do stuff to this. So if it's a data row, then we want to get the order equals e.row.data item, and then we got to cast this to an order. Okay, so now we have our order from the row, and now we want to label let's do label e.row.find control cast that. So now we have access to the customer name label in the row. So we have access to this now. And then we can do something like customer name dot text equals order dot customer dot first. But actually, let's do so you can do that it like this. Or you can do it like this. It's the same thing. So I'll leave this here for you guys since I'm going to upload my code in case you guys want to look at it. Okay, so the customer name is on there. Next one is the services, the list of services. So label services equals label. I think that's what we called it. Services. And then here we'll do services that text equals string that join. So join the entire array of order services use the link here. So instead of link, you could go, you would iterate through each service using a for loop and build the service names like that. So I'm utilizing link with Lambda expressions to do that for me in one line. So join name. Does this actually turn it into a list, or do I have to do list? I think this is fine. And then we have the order price. So let's just do this label order price. And then order dot total. We wanted the $sign here. So we will do $sign and then order dot total. And then service state. We'll do service date text equals let's do datetime dot not datetime, order dot service date dot date. I believe this will just get us the this is what we want. Okay, so let's press play. Here we go. So we have the $sign here. We have the date just being the date, and we have the commas here. And here we go. This is annoying me, so let's make the pagination be. By the way, you can mess with the pagination links with like the numbers and stuff. I'm using CSS class, so if you don't like how it looks, like the blue links, you can always change that too. What was I gonna do? Oh yeah, pages. Let's do 10 orders. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, and you know, I should clean up this table to make it look better, like how this is. Like I would actually research why, because I gave it the same classes, so I don't know why. Is it this? No. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's not doing the same styling as a normal table. So let's say you couldn't figure it out, then I would just use a repeater if you really cared about the styling. Just use a repeater, make it a normal table, use a repeater to generate the rows for you, and I mean you're set to go there. So, but anyway, I don't care that much about it, so let's just go ahead and remove this table. So we don't need it anymore. Let's code the button for the deleting. So go here. Let's go into our row deleting function. So First thing is first. Grid row. Grid view row equals E. Actually equals grid order details dot rows, the E dot row index. And I believe this will let us access this row that was currently selected. So data item, and we gotta cast it. And now that we got the order, let's remove it. So orders dot remove this order, and then we want to rebind this grid view. So bind so that it refreshes and loads all the orders again, but this time without the order that was deleted. So I think this should work. Let's see. Just delete the middle one. Nope. Okay, what was it? What was it? Okay, so we got the row. It's because the order is null here. I think what we're gonna have to do here is find the where are the roles? Yep, we're gonna have to find the control of the ID. Yep. So now that we have the row, we're gonna have to find the control of the ID, which is does that have an actual ID? I don't think so. Now I'll show you guys a trick. Yeah, doesn't have an ID. So that's fine. So what we will do here is create a hidden or we can just, dump the let's do this. Create a hidden field. Name it hidden field ID. Name it hidden field ID. Go to your dashboard backend page, and then hidden field ID equals hidden field, and then e.row.find control, copy the ID. So now we have access to the ID when it creates the row. So ID dot value, we can make it order dot ID. We have to string it. And so now we have access to this. Was it long ID equals in a field, and then row dot find control value. And let's convert this to a long. Hang on, let me just do this. Just makes things easier to read. Okay, so ID, so try to parse in an ID dot value and put it out to ID, and so this will return 0 if it doesn't parse. But if it does parse it, then we want to go ahead and so if it parses it, it'll dump it into here. If it doesn't parse it, then it's not going to do anything. So order equals orders dot first or default. Get the first one that has an ID of this. And then remove that order and then rebind that grid. So again, here you would just have a for loop to find this order if you didn't want to use link. Okay, so here we go. Let's delete. There we go. So this is happening because the state, so every time that I delete it, it's actually resetting the orders to this entire list every single time. So I would actually have to maintain a view state of it. So let me just do that for the sake of having this work properly. We'll go over view states later on, but I just want to do this so that this works. New state dot. Can I convert? Can I cast this list? Yeah, I think I can do this. Then remove order. And then for binding it, we want to bind the view state. Let's see, where else are we making reference to this? One thing I need to do here is if order does not equal null. So if it finds the order, then delete. Let's move this over here. I gotta serialize order. I might have to serialize services too. Maybe, yeah. All right, I'll just serialize it all. Okay, so here we go. So once we do this, these should also change. Well, they didn't. These have to be refreshed. So anyway, so that's how the table works. If you want those to refresh too, then we get to whenever the delete happens, we need to we can create a function called private set page data, right? We're getting void, private void. We don't want to rebind every single time. Let's keep that bind in the page load. So now this is going to happen every single time that the page posts back, not just when it starts. Just waiting for this to load. looks like it decided to crash on me. So, let's end it. All right, let's open it back up. All right, so let's let this finish loading real quick. Let's put. All right, so now let's see. So it looks like it's one step behind. So let's just refresh. So let's just see what's going on. Yeah, it seems like it's one step behind. So so let's set this. Let's keep setting that here then. And whenever one gets deleted, do that here too. There we go. Now it's happening on real time. So that's how you do that. And then you could add, this video is going a little too long, so I'm not going to do it, but you can add, whenever there's no data in your grid view, you can add a little message in there. So empty data row template, no records found. I guess that takes no time, so I'll just show you guys. No records found. So anyway, you know, you would do the same thing here. You would create a, I'm not going to do it here, but what I would do is, yeah, I would expect you guys to code this though, but here what I would do is whenever a user clicks create, it would just create a new order into it, and it would add into a list of orders. Now we're gonna, whenever a user clicks create, we're gonna actually we're gonna insert into the database in the future. But for now, have it add the order information or whatever you have into a list. If you're doing something like this, if you're not, you know, just make sure that you're doing what you need to do. You're handling it the way that you need to handle it. Here I would load on the page load. I would load all the services. I would set whenever something is clicked, is checked, it should set the price here. Remember that checkboxes have the unchecked event or unselected or something like that. So just hit that event, and then whenever that event executes, update the price. And here for create service, what I would do is whenever a user clicks create, it would just add a new service object into a list of service objects with whatever data that the user entered here. So that's what I would do now. And then later on in the class, like I said, we're going to be, instead of adding it to a list, we'll be adding it into the database. So that's what you guys should be doing. Anyway, I hope this helped. And let me know if you have any questions or anything. So thanks. Have a good day.